On behalf of the City Commission, we welcome attendees of the public to this Sunshine meeting with panelists Commissioner Adrian Hayes Santos and Commissioner Reyna Sacco. The topic of this meeting concerns the rental draft housing ordinance. All attendees should note that this meeting is being recorded. Microphones will be muted during active panelist discussions, but there will be an opportunity at the end of the meeting to voice public comment. To address the panel, click the raise hand icon on your computer screen. Those participating by cell phone can press *9. Raised hands will be automatically lowered prior to opening up for public comment, so please wait for the public comment segment before raising your hand. The host will recognize the name or telephone number displayed for the attendee, then unmute the speaker. Each speaker is permitted 3 minutes to speak and should state his or her name clearly at the start of comment. Once the 3 minutes expire, the speaker will be muted. As a courtesy to others and to ensure the highest sound quality possible, attendees and panelists are asked to reduce or eliminate background noises, including duplication of sound via simultaneous use of cell phone and computer. Let's get started. On behalf of
All right, so yeah, hey, Commissioner Sacco, do you see, if you don't mind, adding in Jason Foltz and Jeremiah Tattersall into the meeting? But yeah, Commissioner Sacco, I wanted to have this meeting to discuss the draft rental housing ordinance and to go over it and to get some feedback from some members of the
might have killed a few trees getting it. Yeah, so I read it. I think the ordinance itself is fine because it kind of defers over to the IPMC.
Mm-hmm.
So the ordinance itself from like the city side, I don't have a problem with any particular motions. More like just drafting questions on how to switch around some of the obligations of the landlords. Or how they're explained, just to make it clearer. But it's a small technical thing that I can go over with Ms. Shalley later. And it was just more where it says you have to provide these documents and you must keep a permit. You have to keep a copy of these permits and make it available. I just wanted that to be, there's another document that you have to keep on hand, and I just felt like what was it? The notices and like inspections, like when you were expected. Just, I think there should be another section over on the first one of responsibilities. Where is it? Yeah, it's, what letter is that? 14-5-7. 5-3A and B, it lists out those responsibilities, but I just wanted it to put an extra responsibility of a landlord shall keep a copy available for inspection, all of these records, to make sure it's not buried somewhere and then somebody says they couldn't understand what their responsibility was.
It does say that in addition to the owner shall maintain a file. Yeah. Those, is that what you're talking about? Or? Yeah,
but then it also says further down, another record that they have to keep. Where was it? There's somewhere else another record. I can't see it now. But it was
there's the. I'm not sure what the record.
Wait, I wrote it down somewhere. Oh, the HVAC maintenance, that it has been serviced. I think just all these service records or records of something being the appropriate, I guess, product. I think just like all of these records should be kept on site because it might not be
on site or
not on site. Sorry, okay. Like on record somewhere. Like it should be one of those subsections. Just be like, these are all the things you should have in a all these documents should be available. And if we can make it something easy like energy efficiency documentation, but I think just listing it all out instead of splitting that might be helpful. And that was my lawyer brain from a drafting point.
So one of my biggest things is that the commission gave direction to have energy efficiency ratings and inspections done every 8 years. That is not in this ordinance, even though it was a direct.
It was part of the GPC rec?
Yes.
Okay.
Looking at the minutes, let's see. Yeah, from the GPC meeting, it refers to the minutes from like the May 28th meeting. But yes, there was a motion to include, let's see, energy efficiency rating system done every 8 years, and an HES system or equivalent with duct testing was one of the recommendation to have that. And that was in, if you look at there's minutes for the May 28th rental housing subcommittee.
Okay. I'm trying to see if that was in, because I think the HVAC was included in here.
So there was the HVAC, and I don't know, Jason, Jeremiah, if you guys want to jump in too, I don't mind.
I'm not an energy expert.
But we did have to have a rating system, then an inspection done every 8 years. And one of the things too was that when someone would rent the unit, they would be provided kind of the energy efficiency of that unit and kind of somewhat of a score, so that they would allow renters to be able to compare 2 different places. So if one's like highly efficient and the landlord put in new ACs and all that stuff like that, it would score higher. If it was bad and they haven't done anything, but it still met the very minimums, a renter could see that and be able to compare, and that information would need to be given to.
But that energy rating would be independent of them being permitted.
Yes, it would not. They have to meet the minimum standards that are
anyway
for permanent. Yeah. This would just be a rating system and a check too, to make sure that like there's a duct testing as well, to make sure a lot of homes have bad ducts too, as a major issue. I don't know if Jeremiah, Jason, you remember that, or I think.
Yeah, Commissioner Hey Santos, Commissioner Sacco, thank you for this.
Just one. We have, I think, Professor Paul Ortiz, which is most likely Sheila, if you don't mind bringing her into the meeting too. For the clerks, thanks.
Yeah, and I think Jason might have been saying something, but I did just want to add this in, is that I think it was definitely something that we talked about, because we wanted to reward landlords that are doing these energy upgrades, and so there's an actual rating, and so that renters also kind of knew what they were getting into. Because I remember the conversation was we couldn't just use past GRU stuff, because some people don't use GRU at electricity at a higher rate. They're gone during the day. They don't work from home. There's all these other factors involved in that, but an energy rating would have been better. And I think that's what, if Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's why we really wanted that in there.
Yeah, this is Jason Foltz. Thanks for having us on. And you know, Commissioner Hey Santos and I have talked about this ongoing for months and months and months now. There's kind of these 2 different approaches of the prescriptive approach versus the comprehensive approach, which is more like the ratings that you're talking about. You know, my biggest issue is just making sure that I like what the ordinance did in terms of adopting those standards, so that, you know, it wouldn't be an act of changing an ordinance to make, you know, minor changes in the future. And that's my biggest hope with the energy and water related stuff too, is that we can defer to some sort of larger standard, so that we don't have to come before the city commission, you know, just to change the gallons per flush on the toilets or that sort of thing. There is a study that actually just came out a couple of weeks ago by the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy. And if it's okay, I don't know if there's a way to do chat in this or not, but I was going to share with you all the link to that study, because it's specifically looking at retrofitting buildings as a climate mitigation strategy. So I would like to share that with you all at some point.
I don't think we have control of the chat or have a function for that in this
Okay. Well, I can also, it looks like I can share screen, so maybe in just a minute I'll pull it up.
Yeah, and if you don't mind just emailing it to us too.
Sure
Yeah.
thing. Sure
Yeah.
thing. Thank you.
So Jason, you do want, you want something like the IPMC, but for energy, and you think this could be it?
Well, I mean, I have mixed feelings about it, to be honest. I mean, I part of me would just like to have a straightforward prescriptive approach, because I think my biggest concern with the rating system is just, and this is one of the things they talk about that in that report as well, is who performs the ratings and at what cost. As long as the rating system can be done at low cost, and there's readily available people to do it, I think a rating system is a great way to go. But what you don't want to do is have that be your bottleneck. And the nice thing about the rating system that comes out in the literature is that, unlike the prescriptive approach, basically you just tell the property owner, you need to be at a score of 80 or whatever, and then it gives them a lot of latitude in how to get to that score, which is nice. So I do think that overall that system is better if you've got, you can avoid that bottleneck situation.
I think that was something that was brought up by, is it Amy at GRU? And she'd said that having somebody who can rate energy efficiency, that's like a special certification.
So,
that they,
I mean, we're going to train our own codes officers, and we can train them to be whatever we want them to be. If we want them to be able to do, we can also create our own rating system, and or use like an equivalent. I mean, I think the cost can be lower. I know some of the costs are just like paying like the rights to be able to use some of these.
Mhm.
I don't remember exactly what they are, but we can have our own people trained to be able to do something. My thoughts are to have the prescriptive one that's in there now, and then also to have the comprehensive rating thing. And the prescriptive one is what's needed to get a landlord license. The comprehensive one is more for people to better understand and to better compare housing units. I don't think there would be an increase of really cost, because I think the city should bear it, and the city would be the one who would be doing the tests. And it would be every 8 years or something too. So it would be a long time in between different times as well.
so from a pragmatic point of view, would it be possible to have this one go, because we do want these standards, and then outside of this, because I don't want this to fall further behind, like any more than it already has. Even though we're going to start next year in October, I don't want to delay anything in this, so that we could get this saying, we approve these standards as they are. We think these should be like baseline standards anyway, and then have the comprehensive ratings plan developed as the city and something that we offer through codes.
So I don't think we have to spell out in the ordinance exactly what it entails. Like we could just have one sentence in there that the city will do a energy rating test, and that includes kind of a very basic few things, and that can be created by staff
as they create everything else. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to do all of that. I mean, it wasn't a year ago, so I mean it's very disappointing that there's nothing there, because the commission gave direction over a year ago, which is it's July 20. I guess less than a year. I apologize. But I think we can just have like one.
It was part of the original recommendation.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and I see it here. Yeah, it was the third part of the motion.
Yeah, on the May 20th.
So like all of the other like energy one, all of the like individual energy like asks were put in, but yeah, that one, the hers and he's system or something similar to it was not, and I missed that.
Jason, did you have something you wanted to share? Or?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to take over the screen there a minute ago. I was trying to see if I could share this study with you all. I'm going to email it to you as well.
Okay.
But yeah, this just came out from ACEEE. And what it does is it looks at cities around the world, including Boulder, which is one of the cities that we've looked at closely, that have done these building performance standards. And they've done it, different cities have approached it from a wide range of perspectives, including the, comprehensive approach. And so anyway, yeah, I will email this to you all, but I definitely would recommend giving it a look and sharing it with any relevant folks, any staff that you think would benefit from it, because I think it's pretty useful.
Did it have an overarching kind of find, or?
Well, I mean, the thrust of the report is that this is really important to do.
Okay.
There's one section I just want to read if I can find it real quick. It was a good, says, so although programs to encourage energy efficiency upgrades as existing buildings have operated for decades, at current rates, it will take approximately 500 years to complete whole building retrofits on all residences and more than 60 years to complete such retrofits on commercial buildings. So basically that, the point they're trying to get at is that if we don't do something along the lines of what we're talking about doing here, that basically this work will never be done in any kind of a timeline that's meaningful. So it's really, a big opportunity for us here, not only to help a lot of our low-income tenants in the community save money on their utility bills, but also to do right by the climate, which is an important goal for the city as well. So I will send this report on.
Thank you. That's good to hear that there's some more data backing it up.
Okay.
So that would be my ask, is that my goal for today would be for us to craft a motion that we are comfortable with and that we can bring to the commission on Thursday, if that sounds good to you.
I would be comfortable seconding a motion. I don't think I am.
You can make the motion. That way, I think if we put a motion on the floor, I believe it will pass. So.
I did have one other concern as I looked through. I did it all in red ink so I would see things when I had problems. If we're done kind of with the energy thing, and I'm okay totally with.
All right. So I guess one other thing with the energy thing is I think it's very important, and it kind of ties back to that section that you had earlier, where it talks about paperwork.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think that needs to happen is that energy rating kind of bring it down to a sheet.
Part of the paperwork?
Needs to be part of the paperwork, but also on all of that paperwork, it needs to be provided prior to signing the lease. So I think that wording needs to be in there, so that it's not like, oh yeah, here it is after you've already signed the lease. I think it needs to be available to the tenant prior to the lease signing.
I mean, that all permit documentation be available for inspection prior to contracting, I think is the best way, because you can't provide, providing a copy may be expensive for everyone, but be like, I can, if I don't have it digitized or something, I can provide it for inspection. You can review everything. Because I think some things are going to be put I don't know if people want to have some materials posted somewhere on the property rather than having a digital copy, but I think just it's provided for inspection.
It can be, I guess. Or, I would rather have it given to the person so that they can review and read it. That's I don't know. I
feel that we'll get pushback on so every time somebody is interested, what if I have 5 people looking at this house, I have to print out this whole thing.
I mean, printing out 5 pieces of paper is not a whole lot in this.
We don't know what the permit, all the permit documentation is going to look like, or what the Bill of Rights will look like once it's
we print the Bill of Rights. We'll provide those.
Okay.
And the same thing with the Department of Florida Language. We can say either provide it electronically or in print.
Okay.
If that would be good with you. I think it should be there for people to review.
I agree it should be given. I was thinking pushback /
As a landlord, I'm okay with printing out a few pieces of paper. It's not that.
Bad conservationist. Okay.
But it's a little bit here to save a lot later, right?
Okay. I think we have somebody else attending. Oh. Okay.
If you all are getting ready to move on from the energy and water stuff, if it's all right, I just had one more question / comment. Mm-hmm. So it was really strange to me the feedback about the toilets, how moving to the 1.6 gallon per flush would be problematic, because unless I'm wrong, that's actually becoming the standard now. So to say that modern plumbing is not equipped to handle 1.6 gallons per flush, somebody better communicate that to codes people all over the country, because I think that I don't know. Anyway, I just was hoping that maybe that could be questioned a little bit more, and because that seems very strange to me.
So I have that on my list as well. I do think that we should have a phase-in period, and that actually was written in the recommendation as well. That also was one of the areas that was not followed by staff. To be at 3 gallons and then within 5 years go to 1.6 gallons. But there is, I think, some concern with like some of these historic buildings in Duck Pond. They have very old plumbing, and they are not designed for 1.6 gallons. So there may be some instances where the interior plumbing inside a house can't handle a low flush.
Is that not part of, except for wastewater line serving the unit prevents the same? I think it's exempted from those historic houses. But I did have a conversation with someone else today, and one of their concerns, they said the CWC has like these little balloons that they also offer that reduce the volume. So I was, if replacing the entire thing might be, too burdensome for someone, even phase in, if they could do the 1.6, the 3, or use a volume reduction device, whatever, there's a variety of them, I'm told, that you can use to reduce that. And I think adding that in might make it, again, cheapens the cost, like how it's not going to be expensive. You don't have to replace the whole thing. You don't have to look at your wastewater line. You just can use this instead. If the only, all other things being equal, the toilet isn't cracked or like leaking, it's just a matter of water volume. So I didn't think it was a terrible idea. It might even be cheaper. And if the tenant then doesn't want that, if the tenant's like, no, I want more water for whatever reason, they can take it out.
Yeah, there seems to be more of those coming around. So I think I don't know, Jason, have you seen those being used? I've seen them in the stores.
The flow reducer things, like the
little balloon or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are good. The only thing is that, somebody can put one in and then 2 minutes later, somebody can take it back out and no real change took place. I mean, installing a toilet is pretty inexpensive and easy to do. And I understood the logic that staff was saying in that, because you guys know a toilet will last you years and years and years. So in some instances, it doesn't really make sense to say, okay, we need you to have 3 gallons per flush now, and then in a few years, that's just causing somebody to have to do, something twice. So my thing
I just want to have, I don't think that's not how I read it. It's, you could put in a 3 gallon toilet, in 5 years, it's got to be 1.6. So I would
if
assume
you're going to change it, you should put the 1.6.
Change it to 1.6.
Right. No, to me,
that just allows a kind of people to be able to not have to change a bunch of toilets right away and reduce cost.
And get some of the life out of it, for the next couple of years.
Fair enough.
I heard that. I don't know. I just don't. If a landlord is doing that and replacing it to the bare minimum and then replacing it to the bare minimum again, I think it's just not a very smart person. But sorry.
The way I read it, pretty much, I did not read that the 1.6 would be required at the end of it. That's not how I read it.
So in the draft that came from staff, that is correct. But in the
direction it was.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would like to, if you all are with it, to have 1.6 gallons flush be mandated within 5 years.
That's what I thought was the direction that was given.
Does that sound good to everyone?
I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Would you be okay with adding the volume reduction device? I think that's the most vague way to put it, to not call out any one product as modification. Will be acceptable until that date of 5 years from now.
So you could. So
if
volume
you don't
reduction.
if you don't have a 3 gallon one right now.
Yeah.
But you're not you can't change it just yet. You could use a volume reduction device until it's still working. It's just not that new one, and you want to again not replace it before it's time, before
that seems
dead.
Fair. Yeah.
So that'll be 2026 is the last date to have that one ready within 5 years?
Yeah, the other one was on insulation, and this is saying having R30 in
Yeah.
attics by next 2021. I think that might be a tall order to get everyone up to R30. So I know there a lot of places have like R19 already, or maybe the lower ones, and maybe having the R30 go up at a later date. I don't know what you're all, Jason, you get into a lot of probably more inside more homes. That was a standard for a while, like, right, the R19?
Oh yeah, R19 was standard for a good while, and now it's switched over to R30.
That is the new standard?
Yes, R30 is, I believe, for new construction now, it needs to be R30.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts on having it have to be at R30 in a year? I think that's a lot of places that have to get upgraded in that time frame.
Yeah, I agree. And you're gonna, what you really don't want to do is run into that bottleneck situation where you've got a tremendous number of properties trying to have work done by a relatively small number of contractors. It's gonna drive the price up significantly. So if you're gonna say R30, I would definitely give folks a few years to get there.
So
Can we do the same like R19 by next year, but by 5 years after this program, it has to be at 30? That way you can, if you can only do up to 19 right now, or if you think you can wait, but you have to have some insulation.
Well,
yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead, Jason, sorry.
Well, I think exactly like you were saying before, if somebody is gonna go ahead and have insulation done, they might as well go ahead and have it done to R30. But I think the approach you guys are talking about with it needs to be up to R19 by such and such a time, and then R30 by such and such a time, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we definitely don't want people complaining about the pricing, because that definitely probably would happen. September 30th next year. And yeah.
So that would be like 26 by the 5 year mark?
Yeah, I think that would be ample enough time for people to get there. I mean, we probably maybe could do 3 years. I don't know if that's enough time, do you think?
I mean, when did we move to R30? Like, when did R19 stop being a good standard?
I think in the 90s, right, Jason?
I think R30 is more recent.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but I think, I think R30 is relatively recent.
So it's not like it wasn't a terrible standard if we had it just up until a bit ago. So I think if we can get to some insulation, which is a decent standard, but we expect people in 5 years to have the better one. And this
fair.
Is again to catch up the older homes if this is the new standard and building code.
Yeah. No,
they shouldn't be many properties that need to do this.
There's going to be a lot.
Well,
yeah,
in theory.
I'm just most concerned about getting some insulation in there. The houses that I see that I'm worried about don't have any insulation at all.
Yeah, like the place where I live now, it didn't have any insulation, and it was built in 1949. So for 70 years, 65 years, it had zero insulation. So.
And I guess if we're doing like R19 versus R30, can we amend then the second part of that unless there's insufficient space? Because I don't, is R30 just more insulation? I'm not I don't know anything handy. So, Jason knows this for sure.
The reason why and my thoughts on that were that there are some attics you just can't access.
At all, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe in some of the more historic places, there are attics that are just not accessible to be able to get in there, or there might not be enough room. That's kind of my thoughts on that end. What
for any insulation? This is a stupid question. Is R30 bigger or more insulation, like more by volume? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if the space doesn't have 430, but it can fit to 19, should we still require 19?
I thought I had read already in there that you all had that as an exemption if there was space. Yeah, because that's important.
Okay, so it would be, well, the way we're rewriting it is you need R19 minimum unless you can't fit it, and by, well, yeah, I guess it'll work that way. I think, yeah, if you make it as you need a minimum of R19 and are expected to upgrade to R30 in 5 years, unless the presence doesn't, unless you aren't allowed. But I think that makes it complicated where people are like, do you mean if I can't fit R30 or if I can't fit 19?
I mean, either, I guess.
I think we may just have to make it 2 sentences instead of like one weird compound of like, you are expected to have R19 in all properties unless it doesn't fit. If your property can hold R30, it is expected to then have R30 within 5 years.
Yeah.
I think is the cleanest, most direct way to write that out. Which addresses the space or age issue, but also means like if you can, you will have at least that 19.
Yeah, yes.
Permanently.
If you can, you have to have R30. I mean, most places, if you put R19 in, you most likely can put R30 in.
And okay, never mind.
I mean, most likely. I mean, R30, I think, can fit in what, like 8 inches, right? Like a 2x8.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. I mean, it depends on the kind of insulation you're using too, because different types of insulation.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Are value, but yeah, it doesn't.
I think most roof rafters are probably 2x8s at the minimum.
Right.
So I think for me, it's more just like there are some old homes that just you can't access. Just more, but yes, I think that's fine. Yeah, I think that's good to have some wording in there that makes it clear that on that end.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, did we ask for programmable thermostats on the HVAC? I don't know the cost difference. Would it be like that much more expensive to like hook it up to something like a programmable or electronic thermostat versus like a moving one? Do we even make moving ones? Like,
I would maybe. I don't remember us specifically asking for programmable thermostats, and those are like with the CWC, for instance. We only really recommend those to certain kinds of people. Like if you're somebody that, I mean, which very few are these days, that leave your home from 9 to 5, basically, a programmable thermostat works really well for you. But if you're an elderly person, you're somebody that's at home all day, that sort of thing.
Hear me?
Oh. Yeah, or a lot of us right now. A programmable thermostat isn't going to do a lot for you. And it's actually, they can actually be a little bit overly complicated for some people.
I mean, I have one and I'm confused. If you guys will give me 1 minute, sorry, I'll be.
So yeah, I mean, I think that was in there from the list that GRU provided, I think.
Okay.
I mean, they are more complicated, I guess. I don't know but they do, I mean, at least some of the studies I've seen, they do, if you use them correctly, they reduce a lot.
Oh yeah, no, totally. They can definitely be significant. I just, and I mean, the folks at GRU Energy Efficiency Department know an awful lot. So I'm not interested in arguing with anybody over there. I just know I would be a little hesitant personally to require everybody to do that. But if the folks at GRU think it's a good idea, then I'm certainly prepared to go with them.
So you guys do still recommend that we use it? That we keep it in?
I personally think it's a good thing to have in there. I think we're moving this direction, and maybe we say you only have to have it in. I mean, if you want to help reduce, that is a cost driver. That could be say that's to be done 3 years or 5 years if we want to, but I do think in the long term they do save a lot. If you use them correctly, you can save like 20, 30, 40%, I think, of your utilities.
I mean, I'm sitting here with like multiple college degrees and I can't figure out mine, which is why I say, like, if it's going to be an expense that most people can't figure out how to properly utilize, I'm trying to like reduce all of these costs for people saying, oh, well, I'm going to have to like get this and figure out someone to install it because I don't know how to do it. That's what's concerning to me.
I mean, I'm okay with changing that to a 5 years or 3 years or something like that if you want to delay it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess eventually you should be upgrading your HVAC anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm okay putting it programmable as like within 5 years because that implies like some upgrade to the whole system. Okay, I'm trying to. Okay, I think those were all of my questions on like
So
energy.
Mhm.
And then I had questions about the inspections themselves. Because I think part of the direction is that we had wanted random like spot inspections, like with notice, but not just, oh, I was checked this year, I'm good for 4. I don't have to try anymore. And I think we had wanted the spot inspections to kind of offset the concern that if codes does come into check outside of the 4 years or after like your inspection, that it can only be because the tenant called. And I think we wanted like the possibility of random inspections of like every house on this
I thought it's
block.
allowed for it to have random inspections on top of your inspection every
So
4 years.
I see it as a result of, no, so I'm reading it, will be inspections on a 4-year rolling basis, at least once every 4 years, and inspections may also be a result of a complaint by the, I think we should add something like, we will also be doing like spot check. It may also be possible to perform that, because that way,
sorry.
where do you read it as allowing for?
So where it says with the goal that each regulated unit will be inspected at least every 4 years.
4.
So at least means it could be, they can inspect you
Multiple.
20 times if they want to, but that's the maximum. It's how when I talked to Ms. Shalley, because I brought that up as well, but
There's a minimum of 1 and there's no maximum. I get that, but I would still prefer saying like granting codes that open up like very direct, like you are also allowed to initiate random spot checks outside of your required inspection. If you're okay with that, I want it to be as clear, not up for interpretation at all.
The city may conduct inspection, like random inspections.
Yeah, random inspections outside of the required inspection for any cycle or any 4-year cycle.
Yeah, I think that's fine, spelling it out more. I mean, yeah, I think that's perfectly fine.
And then that was the only other one. Do you have other questions on like inspection or penalty or?
No, I think the penalty is pretty clear. I mean, they have to bring it up, and if they don't bring it up, they can't do it anymore. And if it doesn't meet the standards that we've set out, then they're in violation.
Okay. So it wasn't 100% clear to me from reading whether the tenant would have to leave the property.
So I think that would only, in my understanding of talking to Ms. Shalley, that would only occur if it was a so if
Condemned.
Yeah, in essence, like it's an unsafe. So there's life safety standards, but then there's like this place could crash and fall tomorrow. So that would be where if it was a normally condemned kind of building situation, then they would be forced to leave. But I think in the most of them, I mean, hey, there's an open wire, like fix it in the next day or so. Like, I don't think you have to leave if there's because some of the things are pretty small, not small violations, but like, is one of your electrical outlets covered? Yeah. The one other thing that I had was the start date, and I'm okay with just having the October 21st start date. I really wish we were starting it this year, but my concern is on I guess some of the life safety stuff and the property man. I don't know if we want to mandate that they have to have those this year, and maybe it's not enforced, but they still have to do it. Like having a carbon monoxide, having the fire extinguishers, making sure like the list of things that are happening. It's just not.
We could say that, can we have different starting dates? We can do that.
Yeah, and I guess actually maybe it doesn't convincing. So I guess by like changing living standards, that these would go into effect October 1st, 2020.
Yeah, because those, it's because that's just carbon monoxide, the fire extinguisher, or just part A?
And part, or maybe it does all of it, saying that it goes into effect, but it's not really enforced until 2021.
But we won't start the inspections until 2021.
We won't start the inspections until 2021.
Okay, which would allow then codes to go in anyway. Like codes can still go in to keep to these standards, but no, because we won't be enforcing it.
Well, they could. I think that they also have to sign a paper as part of their landlord license that they are allowing codes in too. So as part of getting your landlord license, you have to sign a piece of paper saying that you're giving the rights to have the city inspect. You can't get a permit without giving up that right. But I don't know. I just having them inspect is just not really enforced. Or the inspections don't start.
I mean, we won't start the inspections until then. We will still be enforcing our code.
Yes.
So I think it could be done that way. Like,
yeah,
you could still call in, but the permitting and licensing will not begin until next year, but this will be our new standard. You better get up to it.
Yes. Yeah, that's my kind of, Jeremiah?
Yeah, I'm raising my hand physically because I couldn't find the raise hand button on here. But yeah, that was one of the big things I had was I know there's the enforcement through inspections, but there's also the enforcement through calls to code violations. And yeah, that was the big question I had is when does that kick in? And also, from my understanding, these codes would still apply, just the inspections wouldn't happen for the larger apartment complexes and stuff. And I saw some of this stuff in the advertising of where some of this advertising would be happening at. And I was wondering if that's something that's been taken into consideration of advertising ahead of the actual implementation of this for some of the codes issues.
You know, about advertising to the landlords or to the tenants?
I mean, I think both, because I think landlords, I mean, if it's going to be a codes enforcement thing, that's the tenants calling. I don't think landlords call codes on themselves, but then the landlords obviously need to be made aware of what the regulations are. But
yes,
I think there's an education component like written into this somewhere.
I think that was what it said, that we would educate for the next year.
Yeah, which we can do, but I think the part that Jeremiah is questioning is if we make this like a more strict safety standard within the city, does it apply to multifamily homes? And I think that's where we're not allowed to change anything that regulates them.
Yes, that's my understanding.
That's why we can't have them have a permit either. We perform state level inspections on them, but the field is like anything relating to them at all, period, is completely taken over by the state level. And that's why, so we can't permit them and we can't have them go by these standards that we set up, because multifamily dwelling law is only the territory of the state.
The one good thing is, though, condos are covered in this, and there are a lot of rental condos out there.
That have been converted, that were apartments and then converted out. Yeah. So I think I sent you guys last year that list where it was like maybe a good 1,000 units of like, it says like, it looks like an apartment, but it's actually a condo. And I think I could pull that again from Ann at Schimberg of all the converted properties.
And in the map that they have, of staff has in the backup for the meeting, those are condo minimized. They do have the condos on there. Okay. I'm looking at some of those apartment complexes, and those are condo ones.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
So I don't think it's clear that if the inspection does not pass the first time, like how quickly the next inspection is. Also the penalties, I know y'all have to put those in. And as far as like the fire extinguisher and stuff, if we want them to have it, start having it now, could that be part of the I mean, that should be part of the self-inspection, which is going to kick in earlier than 2021, right? And then the last question is, when we were talking about this before, the codes guys were saying they wanted it to start in August before all the students came. So I don't know why the October.
Well, it would still require we wouldn't start enforcing it until then, but you would need the permit anyway. So you'd have to apply for it before. Like the department and the staff would exist. We just wouldn't be inspecting prior to October 1st, right?
I mean, currently how it's written, the permits would not start until October 2021.
So codes would still apply though, right? If somebody calls and says there's no fire extinguisher here or something like that.
I mean, the current codes apply right now, so anybody could call for it. I mean, that's there.
So I think to address Sheila's point, it may be better than to say like these new standards apply as of October 1st, 2020. But permitting will, I think we need to separate permitting from inspections. I think permitting, like applications for permits will have to start earlier than inspection, like to address that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're gonna have enough time to have, I wish it was early, but we're only 3 months or 2.5 months away from.
Oh, I don't mean for this year. I
Okay.
meant like what's 6 months from October? Like April 1st? Like
Yeah.
is when we opened, I think because that's how Look had it. He said like we opened it up early, like a soft version 6 months early to start processing the flood of applications. So I think if we open application, we pass the standards to apply this year. We open permitting for April. We start inspections in October.
Yeah, I guess I'm talking about the licensing. Actually, they wanted it to start before August when the students come back. Not necessarily yet, inspections.
So I think if we started prior to the summer, like, you have to apply for one of these. If you think you're going to be a property that rents out. And so that's, students trickle in during the summer, mostly in August, but they trickle in.
Yeah, but I think one of the reasons October 1st was because it's the end of the fiscal year, I guess, from a monetary way. We could have the permitting started at an earlier time. I guess we would, if we wanted to have April 1st to be the year, we could do that. The one thing about October 1st is that you do know who's going to live in there by that time, I guess, too. And you're going to have, you would still have to have your tenants sign all this stuff.
But it would have to apply, and it doesn't
to get
apply
a permit,
until the 21st.
What's that? To get a permit, you have to show all this stuff.
But this stuff doesn't exist until after the tenant's already there. So, which is going to be the case either way. We're going to catch people mid-lease anyway. But I think for the bulk of, like, I think the bulk of contracts start like May or August. Like when you came in or you come out, I think is like the bulk of leases that are written around here.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of want to have this apply so that as this next cycle, by the time we get to you are applying for a permit, you have already provided all this documentation. Or as much documentation that we've already developed between this and throughout this year. Does that make sense? Because we will have rolled out a lot of the documentation. So you can, the standards apply, you have a Bill of Rights, you've been able to show off some of it, we just haven't done the inspections yet.
Yeah, one more thing. I was under the impression y'all needed the licensing during one of the meetings, the money that was coming from licensing to actually fully roll out the program for it to be self-sustaining. So
I thought we put out like some money. I forgot how much. I think it was $250,000 to soft open the program, to like slowly accept some of the applications and some of the fees to build up the revenue to then launch the program.
Yeah.
I think that's what we did, right? To like
I
buy
don't know. I think it's either $250,000 or $150,000.
it was something, yeah, towards that general area. Which is how we then like to then until you get that full first year cycle of permits.
So when do you think the permits should start then, if we're done? Because they're yearly permits.
Yeah, I think we should start accepting applications April. Give it like.
Well, we can accept. I mean, they accept applications at any time usually. I think.
I mean, because there has been a person accepting applications now for the old permit. Can they start accepting slowly until now? Or would it still be like a flood for that person?
I mean, I need to apply for my permit soon, but it would be applying for it for the coming year. So we would be, if we did it earlier, I think might be double charging people too. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, could we say like, well, you know, if you apply early, we'll just like take off these 6 months. Like it'll be good for 18 months the first time you apply. It'll include that first fiscal year, and if you've applied earlier, to lessen the load on the application.
What date are they going to hit? What's the date that you have to renew by?
I don't know. I don't.
That's what all you can backtrack it all. I mean, that's. My one worry about having it start. I mean, I guess it can start at any time we want it to start at. But it just needs to be on a yearly kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm okay with, I get October 1st, I get the fiscal component. It's just a weird time and nobody's moving then. So I think like you can say like you must have it by this date, but we will be offering it prior.
Yeah, I mean most everyone will have to have
it. Had it because they're renting out earlier, but you know you do not have the option. If you intend to like.
I mean, currently, if you don't have a license by October 1st, you are in violation.
Yeah.
So it gives people time to get a license too.
I think that's the better way to put it. Like we will be offering the licenses prior, but if you do not have one on this date and you are renting or offering up your property for rent, you are in violation. But that means we have to reallocate that same amount of like float that amount to codes to have people, like some extra people just to process the applications at first.
Yeah, and they should be able to, I mean, hopefully it's all digital application.
Yeah, I think Luke said that he had like, they do process because they still have a couple thousand every year anyway.
Like the current process is not very good, I can tell you that.
Well, they can make a new process.
I mean, I think they're going to have to be able to, and I think that's.
But yeah, but if they make that new process, like whoever's processing it, we will be accepting and processing. Yeah. But if you don't have a license on October 1st or in 2021, you're in violation. So we've alerted people, they've had over a year to plan and apply. I think starting to offer them in April, I think as people move out, so like, and start signing, because I do think May to August is kind of that, like as classes end. So I know a bunch of people in law school are like, I need somewhere to crash for the last week because I wasn't going to stay an extra week.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to keep an extra month of rent for like 3 days of exams. So I don't know if like saying April 1st.
What is April 1st though?
Huh?
What is April 1st?
6 months from October.
No, I mean, why, like what happens April 1st, I guess?
Is when we start like opening for the new application, because staff will need time to create it. So like you can start applying April 1st, and if you don't have it by October 1st, you're in violation. Because that gives staff more than 6 months to prepare one. Or at this
I don't think we have to have
it.
I mean, I don't think we have to have to spelled out into the ordinance though. I think we can just give that direction.
Okay.
I mean, we can if we want to, but I don't know if it's necessary.
Well, no, yeah, because that, I mean, if you don't have one October 1st, you're in violation, but we will, part of the education component will let people know that they can start applying in April. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the things we're going to ask for is that rating system.
And to have
To
the
be
energy
developed.
efficiency inspections every 8 years.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
as part of that is that they have to give the energy efficiency rating sheet to the tenants before signing as well.
Yes. And make available all of those documents to the tenants, all permitting related documents.
Either electronically or in print.
Yep. And then changing the I think the toilet and R30 standards to give them that 5-year replacement time.
So 3 gallons at the start, and then 1.6 gallons in 5 years. R19 to start, and then R30 in 5 years.
Yes, and adding the option of like a volume.
Oh yes,
The
yeah.
volume reduction device, like until the 5 years, like to get to that.
Yeah.
That 3 gallon. So I think like a 3 gallon on its own, or with a volume reduction device, and in 5 years it must be the 1.6.
Yeah.
I think.
And then the programmable thermostat connected within 5 years as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I literally mean this. My parents touched my thermostat and I didn't know how to fix it. So
I guess the one other thing is, are we going to have all of the standards start October 1st, 2020, or just the A and B, and not have energy efficiency start until?
I think I mean, they should be up to code anyway, and I don't think we have anything extraordinary in the building and the property maintenance one that we cite to the IPMC. I've been looking through it. It's very slow work, but I don't think there's anything extraordinary. It's like things are welded properly and nothing is loose and there aren't holes.
No, yeah, it was pretty, so we do.
It's a lot, but it's all redundant.
Yeah, A and B start on October 1st, 2020, and then energy efficiency starts October 1st, 2021. To give enough, because there are things you have to do for that. Those are new standards.
Because I feel you'll have more maintenance, like more expensive maintenance with the energy one than with your property. Should already be there if you're renting it out. I'm sorry. And even then you still have some time, not much, but some. And it will be more of an applicable, and you won't really be penalized unless somebody calls it in.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, inspections wouldn't start until
21.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is it. But if somebody sees like a serious issue, they can call it in. But otherwise, we won't be proactively going out to look for it.
Okay.
Cool.
Were there any other things that people had?
I had one other thing I wanted to ask you all about. Maybe I just missed this somewhere, but I thought I read that the arbitration, like mediation issue, had kind of been set aside because no action officer was included in the city's budget. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not in here.
And I
didn't see it in here. I was wondering where it was.
That's a pretty incredibly important part of this, especially I know Jeremiah has been working with a group of folks recently on evictions, and I think that what we're going to be looking at moving forward, in this economic situation, and people are really going to be needing some help. So to me, this is a super important piece that should be included.
Does that have to be by ordinance, or can it be just programming at direction?
It does not have to be by ordinance. So it probably would be good to do that, something in the ordinance of like the city shall have a mediation program.
Shall create and manage a mediation program for
Yes.
Do we give it like limitation, or do we just say what it's for and then we limit it by direction so we can expand it in the future?
Yeah, I think just saying that it has to be done.
Okay.
And then we can direct and staff can go from there. Because if we don't have that in there, it makes it easier to cut in future years. But if it's in an ordinance and we shall have it, it makes it harder for it to actually cut.
And like, do we also add how shall create like an action officer? And then we define what that is. Like the action officer can be what we need it to be, not necessarily be the mediator.
I'm a little worried about putting in a specific position into an ordinance. I think if we
do all this, we'll create it.
Yeah, I think there may be better ways to do it in the future and not have to change an ordinance because we have that. That sound okay? Or?
Yep.
Program. So shall create a mediation program to deal with rental issues.
No, I think just create. Oh yeah, with landlord tenant issues, I think is.
I think we should also be part of it, probably landlord tenant, but also tenant issues as well. Do you think?
If we're gonna do it, I think you could say rental property issues, and that way it's vague enough that if we can only do like security deposit, like theft findings at first, but then we can expand it to other issues. So rental property issues, or just, I guess, yeah, issues.
Okay.
Okay, so we've gone an hour, which is twice as long as we thought we would. Any other concerns on this? I'm still going over this, and like I think we'll have more general complaints or questions on Thursday, as opposed to here.
I mean, you can get your questions talk to Shally beforehand.
We were supposed to meet today, but okay. I didn't have really many questions to her. I wanted to talk to you before I did to her, and my one legal question was the drafting bit.
Okay.
Not like a legality question.
Okay. So you'd be good with that motion then to do those things?
Yeah, I will second that motion if you make it.
All right. I'll put it together.
I will make the motion to pass this baby eventually.
Did I understand correctly that this is going to be time certain at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
That's correct, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And this is just a discussion. It's not a first reading of the ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you so much to the both of you. It's funny that, this has been Commissioner Hey Santos' baby on the City Commission side, and it's been Commissioner Sacco's baby on the advocacy side for a few years now. And so it's really wonderful to see you all like closing in on this together on the City Commission. And I just really appreciate the work and advocacy that you all have done on this. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm here literally because of this.
This wouldn't have gotten done without everyone pushing.
Okay, what Jason just said, and I still am not clear about the penalties, or if, like, how much time they would have if a house is in really terrible condition. I didn't see that in there. And the other thing is, how much longer will the city attorney have to mess with this before it's a first reading? Is it gonna just?
My request is to have it as a first reading at our next City Commission meeting.
Yeah, because we're not tinkering much. They'll have a year to kind of develop all the paperwork and like strategy, but the ordinance itself can pass relatively soon. Like we're fine with the ordinance, we're erasing everything, and this is our more streamlined ordinance cite to this. So it shouldn't take much, if not the next meeting, then the one after for first reading. And for the penalties, I think what codes had told us before, that it really depends on what the violation is, because they can't tell you, if it's like the sockets are messed up, I expect this fixed like, in 2 days because you go to Lowe's and buy a new socket, as opposed to, hey, the window's busted, that you might have to call a professional, or like, I'm trying to think of like some other like there's leaky plumbing, like how soon can you get a plumber here? Or like there's clearly been leaks and like the walls rotted, like that will require contracting. And I think they said like depends on what the issue is. They give, you know, enough time, but not a lot of leeway. They'll try to make it as immediate as possible without being impossible for someone to contract that much.
But it's clear, it wasn't clear to me that a reinspection would happen, and also that if the work wasn't done, there would be penalties to that.
So if the work isn't done, it'll be brought to the magistrate, and the magistrate will be putting penalties on the property.
Yeah, that's like codes management with their magistrate system. So
say someone doesn't fix the whatever it is, a pipe or something that's leaking, and they said they were going to fix it in a week and they didn't fix it, then codes might give them like a few more days or whatever it might be, and then send them to the magistrate, and you might have to have the magistrate happen more often too. I mean, it's probably gonna be a lot more work for the magistrate. But the magistrate would give penalties, a daily penalty usually until it's fixed.
Is that what chapter 13 is? Like the whole codes process?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the procedure, it's like where it says like cite to relevant section chapter 13, that should be the codes one that says like, if I come back, I will come back like in so many days. If I come back again and you haven't done it, I will issue you a citation, and then I will go to the magistrate, and then the magistrate will start putting fines on you for like daily violation. And that's the part where they said like people usually stop at that because it starts getting expensive and a magistrate's yelling at them.
Okay.
They have to add that in. They left like a placeholder to figure out which section it is.
Yeah, and if the person does not fix the leak or does not fix it and there's an open violation, they can't get a new landlord permit if there's an open violation either.
And they would be so they can, fines can be enforced for like, they can be fined, they can have their license never renewed again. So there are penalties, but I think they're all like locked up in chapter 13, like they just cited out to it.
Actually, you gave a good question. Actually, there's a failure to apply for a permit, and maybe that's where it would be at, but I guess if your permit's revoked and you have someone still living there or something like that, I don't know.
I mean, then you're still in violation.
Yeah, I guess it's still in violation, yeah.
You're still in violation until you apply for it, and you're going to be fined by the city. The person won't be, I mean, if the person has a year-long lease, not getting a permit is not reason for eviction.
Yeah.
You can't evict on that. Like, I have a lease, I signed a contract. You have failed your job to get a permit, that's on you. So like you can't evict someone because you failed to get a license because you didn't want to.
We don't see this here because we don't have rent control, but it's not uncommon for people to let things go and then be like, well, you have to leave now because it's unsafe, and they create unsafe conditions so they can kick people out.
I mean,
I don't see that happening here.
That situation would have to, I think we talked about it earlier, like the house would have to be like condemnable. Like it would have to be bad, not like, hey, I refuse to put on, like, I refuse to put away the open wires, like from the sockets. Like, I refuse to do that so that I have to move you out because the house is condemned. Like, no, the house is still fine. You're just refusing to change the one thing. It'd be like you're refusing to mow the lawn. You're refusing to do this like one small cheap thing and get relatively cheap thing and get your license in order. So I don't see that as grounds for eviction. If someone has a month-to-month lease, that may be a reason, saying like, hey, I don't have a license after this month or it got revoked. I'm not gonna like keep renting to you month to month. But that, in my legal opinion, that tenant could say like, no, I was like wrongfully denied housing because this person refused to do this. I don't think someone wants to go through that trouble because then they'd still have to kick out a holdover tenant who refuses to leave. And that's expensive. It would be cheaper to just get the stupid license than go through the eviction process for an okay tenant if you're like the house is going to have to sit vacant or you're going to have to pay whatever nominal fee to get the license. It's going to be more expensive to not get the license if you already have a tenant in there, even if they're month to month. Okay. So yeah, I'm okay with those first 2 points going into effect this coming budget year.
Okay.
And then doing the energy and permitting goes into effect next year.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Sounds good to me. I think we do have Kali here who wants to speak.
You may have a question. Yeah.
And then
So
I have to run, but after that.
Yeah.
All right.
Waiting.
Khalid, oh, okay. I have to promote him to panelist for the first.
Okay.
Okay, Khalid, you can mute yourself.
Can you hear me?
We can
Yes,
hear
sir.
Okay. I'll personalize my question. I'm renting as I continue to try to repair my house near downtown, despite obstacles from your codes magistrate. I rented an apartment a block away. It's a little strip of 4 apartments. I have the only one renovated, so my rent is 21% higher than the other 3 apartments. But because of so-called renovation, pretty forward floors, pretty countertops and sinks, pretty light fixtures, but still has leaky single pane windows and an obsolete, raggedy air handler. So my utilities are through the roof, literally through the roof, because there's no ceiling insulation, no attic insulation. So under this measure, will I have the city as backup if I want to urge the property owner to do utility upgrades and make the place really worth what they're charging me for cosmetic renovations?
I think the windows, yes, the energy, no. Because I think what we're passing for October of this year would be the life and safety and like building safety, not energy. So like, I think leaky windows would fall under like the structural integrity of the building and not the energy portion. But yeah, in theory, it should work in October when it passes, well, like when it goes into effect.
So just the leaky windows, I think the AC being kind of bad and insulation will not go into effect until October 1st, 2021.
Because those would be more expensive fixes, more upgrades than your house should already be structurally sound.
Okay, well, I hope I'm out of there by then if I can get by your codes, magistrate, and fix my house. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly. Sorry. So on that note, I think we're good.
Yep. Right.
And I will email Nicole about the one change to the responsibilities portion to just kind of wiggle it around, that like all these documentations must be provided, but it'll probably also be in your motion anyway. So she'll at least know and doesn't have to like draft from like with a second's notice.
The other thing is I was looking at the cost. It seems like they're, I don't know, I need to talk to staff about how they came up with the cost because it seems higher than what we had before. So
yeah. I would like it to be slightly lower. We'll see what their analysis is in terms of like staffing and like building lease and like how they got there. We'll have to ask that one, but I feel like it would be part of the presentation.
Yeah, I would try. You should probably call staff beforehand so you can get those answers.
Okay.
So, yeah,
I'm gonna try.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Up.
Can I throw one more thing out? Sorry, I meant to mention this earlier. It might be a good idea to just build into this a review process every 3 or 4 years because you know, building standards are changing and we're always learning more about energy and water efficiency and how to do it most cost effectively. So if it was kind of built in to reevaluate this every few years, that we wouldn't necessarily have to worry about making micro changes, you know, on a, you know, regular basis.
Do you think every 5 years or every 3 years or?
I think 4 to go with the cycle. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys.
I agree. Yeah, I think given the fact that you're already on that 4-year inspection cycle, that probably makes sense.
So starting every 4 years, starting in 2025.
Makes sense to me. Thank you.
I think
All
that's
right,
good.
sounds good.
I have to run.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.